Hello, Dave here. This mini morsel, learn JavaScript with me, Functions 3, going through the exercises in the book, Modern JavaScript, Develop and Design by Larry Ullman. And you can find out more information about his book at larryullman.com. I'm going through the book, no relationship with Mr. Ullman, except I purchased his book and trying to learn some JavaScript. So, in chapter 7, we are, like I said, this is functions 3, so we've done 1 and 2. In number 1, we looked at the basic syntax, arguments, and creating a simple example, and we moved on a little bit more in functions 2, returning values from functions, and now we're getting a bit more complex, discussing things like understanding the variable scope, scoping of variables, whether it's local to the function or global in nature, and seeing functions as objects. They are just another type of object in an object-oriented language called JavaScript. You can pass you can use function, assign a function as a variable value. You can pass a function as an argument, and there's anonymous functions. And we're going to take a look at a few pieces that we use in order to do this word sorter functions example. And let's just take a look at what this example does here. It enters some words to sort, and word 1, word with an A in front of it, a word, book, cat, zebra, willow, blue, green, ever, this is fun. Anyway, so there's a bunch of words, and let's just change that a little bit, because what it does is it's case insensitive. So part of our process here is changing all these words to lowercase before we sort them, and the result, which we place below here, notice that the word fun here is now in lowercase. So that's the exercise that we're going to do for this specific example. And once again, I'm working in my XAMPP server on localhost. All of these exercises are available out at js.davecoast.com, and you can get there going directly at js.davecoast.com, or you go to davecoast.com and click the Learning JavaScript in the nav bar here, and I'll have the code out there. I only have the code out through chapter 6 so far, but all the videos are there in a playlist. And once again, working on my local XAMPP server, we're going to go ahead and take a look at this example, walk through the code, and debug it, and understand how we perform this using functions. So we will go ahead and start by walking through the code in Notepad++, my editor of choice that I use, and it's just a little easier to read. And then we'll go back and walk through the code line by line in Firebug, debugger step by step. So here is the JavaScript script program, right? Just some comments up here at the top in green. And we have this function, and if you've seen some of the other vids, you'll notice that these first two functions have been used before. And peeking ahead to chapter 8, it looks like the first thing we do in chapter 8 is move these into a utilities JavaScript code. So looking forward to that step. But we have two functions up here. This first function, $, function and we pass it the HTML element, and basically it does this document.getElementById, so it's setting up the reference to the HTML elements. And the second function here, setText, actually gets the element ID that we've already set a reference for and some message text, so it places a value into the HTML. And so this code has been used in many of the exercises so far, and so now we've encapsulated it and we can keep on reusing it. And then we get down and going all the way down to the bottom, because it's kind of bottom up in JavaScript, window.onload. So when the window is loaded, we're going to wait for that sort words button to be pushed. And that was the button that we pushed a moment ago. And so it's once the window onload event occurs, we execute this function. And this function goes ahead and does the submit button based on the element ID using this $sign function, and we set it equal to sort words, or in other words, we execute the sort words function. So here's the meat of the function, and this is the whole purpose of this exercise, what we're learning here. So we have a variable, or we'll create a variable, and it's called words. I'm calling it words work. You can name it anything you wish, as long as it follows the JavaScript naming conventions. So words work, and it is equal to the result of this function. So it's going ahead and setting it to the value from the screen entry. And that's the whole purpose of this $sign function up here, referencing our HTML element. So we get the words that were entered, and we'll see this, walk through it step by step in debug. Then we set words work equal to words work dot split. So we're using the dot split method and splitting it by a space. So, and that's why there's this / comment here. We change the string, right? So this value came in as a string, a whole bunch of words that we're going to sort, and now we're converting that into an array. Then we create a new variable, and it's called sorted words work, or I called it sorted words work, and it is equal to words work dot map. So we're using the map method on the words work array, and in here we use a function. It has one argument called value to return, and we return that value to return in lowercase. So that's the word in lowercase. And what this map function does is it applies, or what this map method does, well, a method is a function inside an object, but this math method takes each value of the array and applies this function to it, and then we return that value, right? And we're putting that into sorted words work. And notice how complex this is, and we're even applying the sort method onto that all in one statement. So in reality, or the whole idea is here is showing us how much we can jam in on a function. It might be clearer to break this up, but anyway, that's why I just put a comment on here. That's a whole bunch of stuff happening in one statement. So here we are basically converting each word to lowercase and sorting it using the sort. So sort and map, and there's a couple of other array functions, and one is called for each, one is called every, sum, map, filter, and reduce. So I would go ahead and just take a look next time you get a chance to go out, do a search on array methods, and you can even look for map and sort, and the other one should come up. But there's and that's the beauty of JavaScript. There's a whole bunch of built-in methods to help you work within an array. And then we use this setText function we call the setText function, right? And here's our setText function up here to actually take sorted words out, right? Here's the actual ID. So that's the HTML element we're going to put it into. And here's our sorted words work dot join. So we're going to join that together with a comma in between there. And that, I believe, returns a string. So this is going to put the string with each word separated by a comma into this HTML element. And we return false to reset the button. End of story. So now let's go ahead and quickly run through that in Debugging. So we'll move the code out of the way. And we have our screen here. Well, let's go ahead and turn on Debugger. Here's our Firebug. I'm going to go ahead and reload and choose our JavaScript. And here's our JavaScript here. That's what we just walked through. There's the code. And I'm going to place a breakpoint on the first executable statement in the sort words function. And now we can go ahead. I could just leave those words out there, but I'm going to go ahead and use just a few less. So I'm going to use Z word 1 and A word 2 and Q word 3. Notice I'm using a mixture of caps and lowercase. BB word, and obviously it doesn't have to be a real word, not looking it up in a dictionary or anything. And this is another, and let's go with one more, and I'll do a capital K, Q. So now we have our words there. When I click sort away here, it should hit our breakpoint, and we can go ahead and walk through this line by line. So sort away for me. There it is. It clicked on our breakpoint. Let me go ahead and detach this and bring this up here so we can look in a bit better detail. And it's about to execute this line of code of where I just set the breakpoint. So let's start stepping through and see what happens. I don't want to put too many words out there. So if I step through, the first thing it does is it hops up here, right? Words to sort ID. It is setting a reference to get the words into our JavaScript. And, right, and it's going to return that reference. And we continue on. So now we're about to execute this, right? We just went ahead, executed this $sign guy, and it's going to place this value into our words work value variable. Notice that it hasn't executed it yet, and words work is still equal to undefined. So step again. Now if I hover over words work, you'll see our S word, A word, Q word, BB word, this is another, and EQ. So there's our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words. And now we're going to go through this words work, and we're going to go ahead and split it. So if we look at this words work right now, you'll notice that it is a string, right? Words work over here. It's in quotes in red. It is a string. Now let's step through the next statement, and I just set words work equal to the dot split, and notice that it put the cute little brackets around there, and words work is now an array, right? I can even open it up and it shows us the array index value starting at 0. So now that we have an array, we can use the array methods like map on it. So now we're going to create this words work, and we're going to do this dot map, and this is going to loop through. So we're going to execute these statements 6 times. So I click step, and it goes down to return val, right? And if I look at value to return, it's S word 1, right? That was our first word. Now let's go through. Notice it bopped back up and do it again. Now it's A word 2, second time. Step, 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 right? So now we're on BB word, step, step, right? This is another, so almost done. Step, step, right? EQ, this should be the last one. So now when I step through here, it should know that it's gone through all of the values in our array. And we bop out, and now we're going to execute this set text function, passing it an element ID and our message text. And look at this. Here is an array, right? Dot join of all those words separated by a comma, right? And we're going to place it into this ID. This ID is in apostrophes, so we're explicitly stating that ID level value. And if we look up here into the set, well, we're going to jump up there now anyway, so let's step, right? So now we're up into this function. Notice if I come down here, I can't hover over any, I don't get a value over any of those variables now because I am in this specific function. And since I'm in this function, I can only see either global variables or local variables for this specific function. And that's a key thing to understand is the local versus global variables. This function is not actually changing variables in this function here. Now, could if we were passing an argument, passing an object as an argument up here, but in general, think in terms of strings and other values, we are not modifying or we're not seeing external values, right? So variables have a scope associated with them. Key item to understand. So anyway, so we're going to buzz through this, and when we finish executing this set text, then we should have our value back out on the screen. So it goes ahead and found out, and it's right getting its reference to that element, right? And now it's right, here's our element out and our element ID, sorted words out ID. And here's our text content. Right now it doesn't have anything in there. And we have message text. Ooh, there's our words. And notice they're all sorted. So we're going to place these words in this text content, which is pointing to our words out ID in the HTML page. So now, right, if I pop this out of the way, ooh, you see, here's our words out there. Let's go ahead. We're just about finished here. So if we finish up, right, it comes down, set text, we return false, and then we're all done. Return false to reset the button, and we're done. I'm going to turn off my breakpoint, return this, attach it to the bottom of the screen, turn off Firebug, and here you go. Here's our screen, or here's our sorted words, case insensitive, right? Because we converted them all to lowercase. So A, B, K, Q, T, and Z. That's functions 3. Thank you very much for watching. Please, any kind of feedback you have, dave@davecoast.com, or leave a message at the bottom of the video. Once again, you can go to js.davecoast.com and go ahead and debug any of these exercises, and hopefully this will help you learn some JavaScript along with me, and we'll both know a little more JavaScript when we're done. Once again, thank you very much for watching.